That is happening.
It's happening, man. Like the live thing. We're live. Yeah. Let me not jabber on too much so we lose people in 5 seconds and they watch it later. Let's not do that. Instead, bro, let's talk about something that perked you up a little while ago, bro. And that's something you kind of parallel all the time, which is, well, I got to back up for a second, bro. I got to back up because we talked about this last week, right? How people there's like two lanes of the street. There's like following Christ lane in the street. And then the other side of the lane is run your business. And it's totally separated, right? This is something that people always do. So far be it for them to even think it's possible to equate any type of business techniques, marketing techniques, the way Jesus did it. You see what I'm saying? To parallel that. But really, I need you to expand on that, bro, because that's something that people, I think you need to get elementary with people, because so that's how you can walk them in instead of shoving them through the front door and breaking the door down. You know what I'm saying?
I wonder if we really realize what we've been given in our Bible. I wonder if I actually wonder if it's really being taught. Just because you know the book, chapter, and verse doesn't mean to say you actually know the book, chapter, and verse. Like the words are one thing, but if we were to really understand people, in fact, let's go back. If we were to really understand business is remarkably simple. The first part is have a product or service that people actually want to buy and be able to sell it to them at a profit. That's the very first thing, right? And I think it sounds so childlike, and yet you can make 10, 50, $100 million a year just with that one strategy, right? I think people want to buy, sell it to them at a profit. If we understand that, it only really leaves us with an ability to accumulate people to buy the thing and an ability to get staff, employees, to service the people who buy the thing, right? And if we say that all on its own is a business, suddenly we're talking about Jesus, his ability to have a guarantee that you will go to heaven, as opposed to if you sit close enough to the front of the church, like if you've been sinless enough, so you're right with God, right? Through Jesus, he guarantees we go to heaven. He's got a product that people will buy into with their heart, mind, body, soul, everything. It's an expensive purchase. You buy in with your everything. And then he had this ability to accumulate people, the 3, the 12, the 72. We all know the numbers, right? It's all there and it's very heavily documented. Well, the journey of Jesus and the life of Jesus and what he taught, therefore, and what he did is structurally exactly the same as building a business in its entity. I mean, he got employees who would go out there and market God for him and demonstrate the product of God through miracles. We call them disciples today, but they were people who represented him and worked with him. Well, that's what we do in a business. He did stuff like this, like the Sermon on the Mount, was not dissimilar to a LinkedIn Live or a YouTube Live or a live anywhere else. It was gathering people together in a place with the ability and desire to go and teach them something and then ask them to buy in. And so does that for you start to make it simpler in terms of what there actually is structurally within what he did that we can learn and apply in our business?
Yeah, but I mean, that's the thing. It's always missed because that's the narrow path, if you will, hey, right? Mm-hmm. Business-wise, the narrow path. But then there's everything else. And there are 168,000 ways to do every little thing. and everybody has the answer, and everybody's a guru, and everybody wants your money, ironically enough, to teach it to you.
But there's some truths, right? The people who are going to give you business advice that isn't biblical, number one, if they're selling advice, it means they don't know how to do it themselves.
Oh.
Right? Number one, because if they knew how to do it themselves, they'd make a stinking load of money for themselves.
Oh my goodness. Oh, bro, that should stop people in their tracks, man.
And there's a few exceptions, I want to say. Somebody like an Alex Hormozy, who exited his business for $86 million, he's got a right to stand on a soapbox and teach some business stuff. Right? He's earned the right. And I don't think, yes, he may want to grow his wealth bigger than $86 million, right? Yes. But he's not doing it purely for the money or for the business enterprise, because he doesn't need to. At $86 million, you can kind of put your feet up and smoke cigars on a beach for the rest of your days, and you'll be fine.
Sure.
In fact, your children's children will be fine. But then there are people out there who are claiming that they're teaching business advice through the Bible, and you can get plenty of that on social media. What I've come to notice, Brad, is it's very much about, pray and seek his wisdom, be obedient, all these things, which I fully get, and you should go and do those things. Seek wisdom, be obedient, like don't sin, blah, blah, blah. But actually, if you really stop, the exact strategy, the exact solution to the problem you're facing in your Bible, in your business rather, sits within your Bible. And it doesn't matter what that is. If you're finding yourself distracted, the answer is within your Bible. If you are finding yourself challenged with one of two paths to go to, the answer is in your Bible. Not just at a whimsical prayer, faith level, spiritual level, but at a structural level, like go this way and do this because it works, don't go that way because it won't work. And I wonder what part spiritual warfare plays in all of this, where the enemy makes business so complicated for so many people.
Yes.
Gets them focusing in so many places, 99.9% of them don't matter, by the way, that actually most of the complexity in business is just the devil keeping you broke. Because it's distractions. Do you know how I spend almost all of my time as a guy who owns a business called KingdomPreneur that supports Christian business owners, right? And we've now got 7 coaches plus myself. We're a very fast growing business, across 3 nations at the moment. We're growing very quickly, but we spend most of our time saying to our business owners who are Christian, who come to us, like, stop doing this, stop doing this, stop doing this, stop doing this, stop doing this. It's too complicated. It's too hard. Here's what to focus on. This little narrow bit over here is the answer to everything. I mean, we were talking earlier on today, there's 10 a.m. I think it was this morning, your time, or 9 a.m. your time this morning, in a group session. And I think I was saying, like, guys, you all just need to go and have 4 or 5 cups of coffee a day with somebody who could be a customer. And you will, within that time frame, 25 cups of coffee a week, within a week or 2, you'll get 5 to 10 new customers every week. How many new customers do you really need in your business? And if you want more than that, then get a sales guy who goes and has 5 to 10 cups of 5 cups of coffee a day with people, 25 a week. The sales guy will get the same outcomes for you. It's just repetitive. So how many customers do you really need? How many honestly can you onboard and look after at any one time to any great degree? And if you want more than that, well, then yes, lean into social media, but social media will only magnify what you're already good at and bad at in person. So if in person you can't get 10 of those 25 to buy your product or service, you probably shouldn't bother doing social media because you're just not ready yet. It's like, where do you go to your training academy is the in-person marketing, the networking. That's the training academy. And then when you take the little safety wheels you have on bikes, like the stabilizers, you want to take those stabilizer training wheels off. That's social media. We're trying to be clever, but really we're doing the devil's work. He's just making me busy, but not productive.
Man, bro, Bobby should be here. We're spitting fire, bro. So here, let me piggyback off of that some because people need to hear this. Okay. You are saying, get out from behind your desk, go have coffee with your potential customers, get on Zoom calls with your potential customers, whatever it is just have your virtual or real coffees with people. Do much more of that. The problem is, Rob, is that, bro, everything you see out there in the midst of all the technology, all the AI, all the how to do this right and how to do that supposedly right, bro, everything else teaches you how to not talk to your customers, how to automate, how to be hands off. That's the way of the world, man. That's all of the business. How to automate this? I can automate that. I can automate this, and I'll have more time. Never really have more time anyway.
But what's really interesting is who's making the money. So the guys who are telling you don't speak to your customers, automate you, they're actually talking to you the entire time about buying their automation service. They're doing themselves the very thing they tell you not to do. They're doing themselves, number one. So you've got to be careful about analyzing this. Equally, God put man in the garden in Genesis and told him to work. He didn't say get people to work for you. He didn't say automate it. He didn't say engineer a gardening system. He said go work. Every one thing that you're doing to make your life easier is at some degree making your life harder.
Yes. 100%.
And so you've got to be very, very, very. So for instance, in KingdomPreneur, we have no AI or bots involved with any of our phone-based sales system. Nothing. From the scripting that we use to everything, we literally do it with love and care, with a pen and paper or pen and paper often, because you deserve, as a human being, if I'm to show love to you as a business owner, the only way I can do that is through a human-to-human connection. Right? A AI bot cannot legitimately show you love. And if it tries to, it's a bit perverse. Jesus said 4 times, love God, love others as thyself. Like you're permanently frustrated because you're not loving your customers enough and therefore not loving yourself enough by not putting the work and the effort in, not blessing people with jobs, trying to make your business more efficient because you're afraid of going out and doing the hard work of getting customers. And it is fear. Right? It's effectively stage fright. Could I get practical for a moment?
Please.
Right. Let's go and play with Jesus a little bit in our Bible and our New Testament, and let's go and actually take this to practical. Now, I think you'd agree that if a business was present in heaven, and you could capture it, its essence, its delivery, its everything, and you could bring it to earth, that business would flourish on earth, right? If it was a heavenly business. Now we call that in our faith revival. It's actually what we're asked to do, in heaven as it is on earth. It's actually what Jesus is asking us to do in the Lord's Prayer, is bring heaven to earth. And so, okay, cool. So I could get, and there's some heavenly businesses around there or there's some businesses around that provide heavenly solutions. I could argue that Starlink is one of those. I could argue that Apple is a heavenly brand. I mean, how it works, I have no idea. I just know I get a new laptop, open the box, it's working in minutes, and all I have to do is put my thumbprint on it, and it works, and it's connected, right? It's snap your fingers, it works. There's no faff, there's no hassle. And there's quite a few of those brands out there. And so then we say, well, okay, well, how would we find the insights to go and take our business to a heavenly business, right? And then work out what that actually is. The first thing is you're not going to find it within your current industry because they're all sinners, right? So you're not going to find it. So you've got to go and find it somewhere else. In John 3, Jesus says, very truly, I tell you, no one can see the kingdom of God unless they are born again. Mm-hmm. What he's saying is nobody can see the kingdom of heaven or the kingdom of God other than through him. So the starting point to take your business into a revival business is accepting Christ and asking what he and God would deem to be good enough in a business. What would they place in heaven through them? But then we could go into Matthew. And I can't find the exact verse in front of me right now, but it's called the parable of the hidden treasure, where Jesus says, and the kingdom of heaven is like a hidden treasure in a field. The merchant found it, recognized its worth, went off and sold all of their things in order to go and buy the field so he could get the treasure within it. That's the product or service you've got to go and pursue building in your business, because that will just sell itself. If your customers will run home, sell their golf clubs, their mountain bikes, their second car, their whatever it is they may well have in order to buy your thing, right? Because they're that desperate for it. That's a hidden treasure of a business, right? That's a pearl. But then we should go and recognize, what did Jesus demonstrate a hidden treasure or a pearl to be? So the first thing is he recognized that for his customers, that's all of us, our dream outcome is to go to heaven. That's our dream outcome. So he's actually selling us, as we buy in, our dream outcome. So your product or service needs to give the customer their dream outcome. They don't want to have, they want the leak fixed in their front yard without the front yard being turned upside down and looking like a muddy building site for weeks. Mm-hmm. They want it clean afterwards. In fact, they actually want the leak. If you could snap your fingers and make it go away and prevent it, they'd buy that. But if they had a new fountain in their front yard, they want that leak found, fixed cleanly, to never need to be fixed again, and their front yard to look better after you leave than when you arrived, right? They want that dream outcome, and they actually want a guarantee of it. Jesus says we're guaranteed through him to go to heaven. Mm-hmm. So he made it certain. Jesus also made it instant. People want their outcomes, their products, their services fast. If you think the whole world says instant gratification is bad, apart from Jesus Christ, our Savior, who instantly guarantees that you will go to heaven. And then the third thing is, people don't want to go through effort, hassle, and sacrifice in order to go and get the product or service they want. They don't want to have to sign unnecessary documents. They don't want to have to hang around and wait. They just want the thing now. And our job is to provide it now. Provide it at a high quality now, a biblical quality now. I mean, that's exactly what Jesus did for all of us when we were saved, when we bought into him. Well, that's what your customers want to buy from you. The crazy thing is, Brad, almost every business is 70 to 80% of the way there. The last 30% is having the work ethic of Christ. And by work ethic, I think what I really mean is doing the work that matters, not the complicated work that the world tells you matters.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And we have to remember, Rob, I don't know why I'm getting this right now, but we have to remember, and it's really, really difficult for us to imagine this. We have to remember that if he was called to go there, to preach the gospel for one person or to heal one person, there was miles and miles and miles away they had to walk.
That's
I
it.
hop in your car for 10 minutes.
That's it.
I mean, that's literally going the extra miles. Like it was hard to do. And I think in business, a lot of times we want things to be so easy. That's why we use all these tools, and we can't get over that adoption hump we just talked about the other day. Life will be great using this tool after your life stops for however long for you to learn it and implement it into your business. Well, nobody can do that, right?
I think that the fact is that there's customers everywhere. We're just too, I won't say lazy. I think we're too unobservant to stop and look. I think we're rushing along so quickly through everything that we're not breathing and observing the humans around us and noticing where the opportunity really lies. If I look at the average person in their Tesla, for instance, it's driving on some form of autopilot half the time, so they're not really with planet Earth. Anyway, they're kind of doing something else. They're on a tablet or on their phone talking, they're listening, they've got their earpieces in. They're so busy focused on where they want to get to that they're missing all of the opportunities between point A and point B. Like, how many people do you drive past in your car every day? How many Facebook groups do you ignore? How many opportunities do you have to have a quick 15-minute Zoom or Teams or Google Meet call with somebody? Just find out who they are, how they are. Be curious. Don't try and sell anything. Just be curious. Hey, Brad, what do you do? Tell me about what you do. I'm interested. And be interested. Forget selling your thing. If you've got a thing that's that good, you just need to listen for them to say, oh, I'm struggling with this and this. And you go, well, I've got a thing if you want that can fix this and this. Would you be interested? Mm-hmm. But most great sales is following that structure of God, others, and self. You worry about your products and service last. And I think that we're so busy looking for miracles and biblical outcomes in our business that we're missing the fact that the structures used by Christ and used by many of the predecessors to Christ as well, Jacob, Abraham, Solomon, the structures and patterns are there that were built and designed by God for his children to follow and for them to prosper off the back end of it. And so, in all honesty, if you're looking for biblical outcomes of like miracle-sized proportions, maybe we should understand more the structures, and they're not laws, but the structures that God built and the instructions, direct instructions he gave us in order for us to prosper and be successful. And by the way, I want to put a caveat. I'm not saying that God's an ATM that you could wander up to and punch some digits in and spurts cash at you. I'm not like prosperity gospeling this in the slightest.
Right.
But he did build structures that work as effectively as gravity does. Wouldn't it make sense just to go and follow them? I mean, how much sense does fighting against gravity make? Brad, you've been in lots of sessions with me over the past 2 years. What have you picked up, or what's changed for you in terms of business over this time period?
I think it's really about taking a little bit of time to get creative. You know what I mean? I think, like, I've said this a million times, I'll say it a million more. The hardest work that a human being will ever do is think. And that's why so few do it. You know what I'm saying? That is the absolute truth. I think if you invest obviously in yourself, in your business, by stop for a second. I was thinking about this a second ago. I was like, man, when I was an insurance agent, Rob, and you and I had some chats about that. I don't know if you came up with the idea or I don't know, whatever, but I was getting to the point until things changed for me. I was going to start like walking my neighborhood, like literally walking down my neighborhood for an hour or two, knocking on doors and introducing myself as your neighbor, which automatically gets some rapport built, right? I'm your neighbor. You know, I work in home insurance. I serve other people in the area. If you ever need any assistance, have any questions about anything, just let me know. Not here, I need to sell you, I'm better than your agent. Right? Just be there as a resource, because here in Florida, agents don't call people back. So I want to be the guy that calls you back. All right? That's reading the market. Same thing with a plumber, bro. Can you imagine if a plumber just started walking around his neighborhood, said, hey, I'm Joe the plumber. I live a few houses down from you. You know, I know it's hard to find reliable plumbing. So if you ever have any issues or you have any questions about anything, just let me know. I'll come over and check it out for you. I bet you if he walked around for an hour or two, he'd probably get 2 or 3 homeowners that would say, I got this issue right now. Like, can you look at this for me?
I was just about to say, show me the house that doesn't have the leaky taps or the whatever. It doesn't exist. Get
creative, man. Don't sit there in your office and wait for everything to come to you. Like, get creative. Think a little bit about not who LinkedIn says your ICP needs to be. Right? Like, get creative about who your audience actually is and then go talk to them.
You know, I'm so passionate about this, getting off my bottom and off this chair in this desk and going and seeing people. You know, I travel for about 2 weeks a month. I mean, you know this because you see me quite consistently, but I travel about 2 weeks a month. How many of our podcasts or our shows have you found me in a car at an airport parking lot? We're doing a podcast because that's where I am now. Next week, I'm off to Cape Town, South Africa for the week. And I think I've got 5 events in 6 days. Just meeting people, because it's what Jesus did. Like, if you want biblical results, you've got to do biblical actions. And then in a few weeks' time, I'm flying halfway around the world to hang out with yourself, and then hang out with Bobby in Dallas, and just to meet people. You know, I think that I want people to know that I'm coming halfway around the world, not just to meet you and Bobby, to meet them. If they're a Christian business owner, I want to meet them, especially if they're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area around about the 11th of June. I want to meet you. Here's the thing, Brad. I don't actually want to sell anybody anything.
No, I know.
I actually want to find out who they are, how they are. Like, what are they struggling with? What are they winning at? What are their questions? Can I pray for them? The funniest thing is that the business part of it just takes care of itself at some point in time. Yep. And so if you're in Dallas, Fort Worth area around June the 11th, we're running an event. Come along. I think it's $25. It's 4 hours of practical teaching. I'm going to ask Brad in a minute to tell you about my teaching, by the way, because my style is quite different to what you have experienced at other events in terms of how I teach and what you get when I teach. So I'll ask him to explain that, because he's been in KingdomPreneur now as a client for 2 years. So he's seen me twice a week at least for 2 years. So he'll tell you more about that. But I want you to come along. And if you don't get that $25 worth of value out of me, I'll give you the money back. But I want to share with you what I've learned in this journey with God in building a business for him. I want to share with you how we've had legitimate miracles happen in this business that aren't just, you know, it didn't rain when I got out of the Uber wearing my suit. I mean, that is a miracle, right? But how tens of thousands of dollars arrived by accident and by miracle into my bank account at a time when I didn't know what next was going to look like. I want to share with you how that happens and how you can construct those miracles for yourself, because miracles are a thing through prayer and construction. They're not just a whimsical may happen. Miracles happen consistently, and they can happen for you as well. I want you to understand that Genesis 1:28 isn't a line diagram. It's a circular story that keeps repeating itself, and that you can lean into it and repeat and repeat and repeat. And I want you to know how. And so I want to give you practical teaching, and then I want to sit quietly and answer your questions. I've been doing this for 26 years. I know a little thing or two, so come along.
Yep.
Brad, you've seen me teach a lot. What have you noticed?
Well, here's the thing. Like most people, I've paid some of the gurus. I've paid for the courses. I've paid for the seminars. I've gone to the rah-rah. I've done, you know what I'm saying? A lot of us have done those things. But the truth is, you're still empty afterwards, because most of the time it's simply, yeah, you paid $100 to come here and see me, and I'm so special, and here's a couple of nuggets that you will never implement into your business. But if you spend $5,000 with me, that's where you get the real good stuff, right? We've all been there. But this is the opposite. This is really and truly, if you're a Christian business owner or entrepreneur, this is how to bring God into your business. Because I guarantee you, he's not with you on a daily basis. It's not a secret, guys. Christ is the secret weapon for all of it, for life, for business, for prosperity, for real prosperity, for love, for it. He's the real way to do it. But for whatever reason, we have separated him from our business. And that's really what's holding us back. And so Rob it's really practical. And yeah, he has no problem getting into the nitty-gritty, getting into real substance that you can actually apply for your specific scenario, and not some cut and paste thing that doesn't work for everybody. Right? I would say the difference, Rob, if I had to just keep it real, is how to bring God into your business, but real substance, not just a little nugget here and there.
I'll tell you the thing I'm not, Brad, and that's I'm not a showman and I'm not an entertainer. I'm not going to get you jumping up and down and bouncing around. That's not me.
Right.
I'm this whole thing of KingdomPreneur isn't really about me either. It's all about Jesus. It's like he is the him and the cross are at the absolute core of everything. And as people get to know me better, and as they get to learn with me better, and as I get to help them understand their Bibles better and Jesus better, the one core thing that you'll notice over and over again is that everything leads back to the foot of the cross. Every practical piece of information and instruction, every prayer, every level of obedience, everything always goes back to that one core place in the teaching of Jesus himself.
Yep.
But it's crazy, in Corinthians, Paul teaches us how to build a church. If you ever, and in Acts as well, I think, have you ever noticed that churches seem to prosper with quite a lot of money, and they seem to do quite well for themselves, and pastors have private jets and all sorts of fancy things? That's because they've bothered to learn the business element that's built structurally within Corinthians, Acts, Jeremiah, Solomon, and a few other places. It's all the way through your Bible. They've actually learnt that thing and they've applied it within their church. What if you viewed your business as a church and applied the same thing in your business? What happens then?
Well, just look at the parallels, man. Why do people go to church? Right? Why? They're seeking something that's missing. Right? They're seeking.
They've got a hole they're looking to have filled.
That's right. Same thing. If they are coming to you, then they're seeking a product that you have, right?
Yep.
Serve them, right? Don't just take the money. Serve them. It's not that hard to be different, man. It's really not. Just talk to people, and you'll be different.
It's funny, my wife and her family go to this Italian restaurant, and my father-in-law first went there about 45 years ago. 50 years ago, a long time ago. And then in the city where they live, it was probably the first Italian restaurant that opened. And now it's a bit of like a landmark Italian restaurant, but the quality of Italian food has jumped up about 5 million times in terms of like quality and whatever else in the city over the past 40 years. And so now it's no longer the best Italian restaurant by quite a long way. If you want like the best Italian food, there's many, I could name 50 of them that are better than this place that's been there for 50 years.
Oh, wow.
But Gino, in his 70s, is still there every evening. He still knows, he knows my wife's name. She's been going there since she was weeks old. He recognizes our kids, even though he only sees them twice a year now because we live quite far away. You know, he knows all the customers. His son is now picking up that restaurant and doing exactly the same thing. That restaurant has, you can't book a table. There is always a queue to get a table, always. Every evening, they're open 6 nights a week. Every evening of the year, 6 nights a week, you will queue for 15 to 40 minutes to get a table after 6 p.m. Right? It is always full. The menu is plus minus, other than the prices, plus minus the same as it was 45 years ago. Like my wife's family has the, you know, they don't even have to look at the menu when they order. That like, we'll have the focaccia and the salad and the this and the that and whatever else. And isn't it interesting? That's all simply because he loves his customers enough to be there for them, to remember their names, remember their grandchildren's names, you know, involve them, get to learn them, get to know them. The waitresses and waiters do exactly the same. The son's doing the same. It all points back to love, like actually just caring for somebody to a level that you'd like to be cared for yourself. And I think love is the secret weapon in your business that nobody's really taught you how to deploy.
That's right. And if I may be so bold as to say, we've all been there. But the truth is, Rob, tell me if I'm wrong, but the truth is your quest for money and success blinds the love. Your quest for money and success shuts out the ability to really show your customers that love.
Well, it does, because then you end up worshiping a different God who's not our God.
That's right.
And we're all guilty of that in different ways. The irony is, you know, I think we added $410 million in Kingdom business growth last year alone. And all of it is by getting people to not focus on the money. Like the money is a gravity-fed byproduct that comes in massive proportions when you simply do the things that Jesus would do in order to go and run a business. As long as you're selling the thing at a profit, it just takes care of itself.
Yeah.
And we don't need to worry about it. We just need to steward it well when it arrives. We need to help people with it when it arrives. But equally, we need to celebrate it when it arrives, because it doesn't come from our customers. Ultimately, it comes from God himself. He is blessing you for running a business in a way that he recognizes to be wholesome and healthy.
Well, and also, man, people just don't realize that people are trying to survive. You know what I'm saying? They're really trying to survive. But imagine if your business was thriving so much that you could hire more people, step back, and still be more prosperous. What could you do with that extra prosperity to serve the kingdom, to serve other people?
That's it. We as Christians have got something, and I don't know what it is. Maybe I'll find it one day, where we're told by the pastors that we need to be humble. And somewhere in that message, that humility comes with, and stay poor.
Right. Why?
It's because I think it's fear-driven. And the church, or the big C church, the corporate church, generally doesn't believe that the congregation can steward money well without being corrupted by it. that they'll fall foul of whatever sinful thing it is. There's also a precedent, by the way, that rich business owners leave churches. There is a global precedent of that, which I've yet to meet a pastor who's brave enough to actually stand up and have an honest conversation about, because they're not really willing to admit why. And simply, it's because the value proposition of your church doesn't meet the need of the business owner anymore. Anyway, that's a story for a different day. What I want to say is this, because I need to go to bed. It's 9:45 at night.
Yes.
What I want to say is I am this bold. This is my age reduction device, my cap. But what I want to say is, if you're a Christian business owner and you've got any ability to be in the Dallas-Fort Worth area on June 11th, I would love to meet you. Bobby would love to meet you. Sadly, Brad can't join us. His wife's abducting him to the coast or something like that. But we would love to meet you. We'd love to see you at our short seminar from 11 till 3 p.m. I'm going to teach. You're going to get a chance to network. You're going to get a chance to learn and grow. And I'd love to see you there. We're hosting it at about $25 a head, I think. And that is simply so we can cover the cost of a venue. Right? I'm paying for my own flights halfway around the world, my own accommodation, own food, own everything. The money is simply so we can have a venue. What we promise is high quality teaching, high quality learning, a great environment, and we're not going to sell you anything. Like, you're not going to walk into a sales pitch that you don't want. You're going to work into a learning environment that will bring you closer to Jesus. That's what you're going to walk into. So that's it from me today. That's it.
All right, brother. I know we're going to have to put a link in here on this post or something. I got to get that posted. But yeah, that's June 11th. Yeah, June 11th, 11 a.m. Central. If you're anywhere near the Dallas-Fort Worth area, even if you got to drive all across, right, from Fort Worth to wherever, then just do it, man. Just do it.
We've got people, by the way, flying in from Nebraska and Chicago just to come to this event already. In fact, Billy was talking. Where does Billy live? He lives about 4 hours away or something.
Louisiana, yeah.
In Louisiana, Billy's talking about coming in from Louisiana. Like people are traveling, and so if you live in under 10 or 20 miles, I'd ask you to just travel a little bit. You don't have to get on a plane or anything like that.
Yeah. It's not a rah-rah speech. It's not a buy in for $25 and get the real secrets at $5,000 after. It's none of that mess. None of that mess, bro. I think God would be mad at you for that if you did that.
The reality is, I want to put this out there, Brad, is that we do charge for our services, right? I want to be really transparent with people. Like, I don't want people to think like we don't have anything to sell. Our services are really, really simple. Is the more tailored the advice you want, the more expensive the service. There's only one of me, so if you want time with me, it's more expensive than if you want time with one of my coaches where there's a bunch of them, right? If you want time in a group with us, well, that obviously splits my time by 10 as opposed to by 1. You know, it's just common sense math. And so that you do get that level of tailoring based upon your budget, starting from a few $100s a month and going up to admittedly thousands for one-to-one time with me. But we're not going to sell you that. Like, if you want that, come speak to us. We can help you with it. But if you don't want that, it's fine. Learn. The most important thing is, I really love single malt whiskey. And I'm convinced that I'm going to find single malt whiskey in heaven. I really would love to chink a glass of single malt whiskey with you in heaven as you tell me about your story of you, God, and business throughout your life, having met me once for 4 hours at a short event in Dallas, Texas on June 11th. And that was the only time you ever met me. That would bring me all of the joy and happiness that I could ever ask for.
All right, guys. Remember, June 11th, Dallas-Fort Worth area. People are coming from out of state for sure. But if you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, it is worth the time. That's all I can say. Worth the time. And we hope to see you there.
Cool. God bless, folks.
See ya.